Hey everybody, it's the OMAD Dad. Welcome back to my YouTube channel, a channel that is dedicated to living the OMAD lifestyle or eating just one meal a day. Today, I want to cover a very important topic. I want to talk about delayed gratification. Delayed gratification is really kind of the foundation upon which OMAD, intermittent fasting, timed eating rests upon. There is a real power in postponement. When you postpone the gratification of the meal and certain components of the meal, and when you postpone in general and put things off and have a little bit of space in between events and eating, it's a huge power. And I want to discuss that today because, as I said, it is the foundation of OMAD, and it's one of the most magical aspects of what we do, and why people who go onto eating one meal a day find that so many things in their life, not even connected to food, just magically start improving and getting better. When it comes to food, though, I mean, we live in a very food-rich environment, and it's nearly impossible at least here in America, to be in any sort of community where you don't have nearly 24 hour access to food. And even if you don't, I could go to the store. Most stores close by 10 or 11 o'clock, and I can go there and buy enough food to definitely last me for at least another week or so and eat myself silly. And it is natural for us to want to eat the foods that are around us in our environment. And I truly believe that we should get some sort of pleasure out of our dining experiences. Not every meal that you're going to eat is going to be a Michelin 3-star rated experience, and that's okay. Some of them are, especially a lot of my meals are very simple and very basic most of the time. But I go for flavors so that there is a sense of satisfaction, and I do enjoy the little superfluidities of life, or the little pleasures in life. As Jen Stevens wrote as a title of her book, we delay, we don't deny. And yes, there are some of you out there who are doing keto because you found that has worked best for you, and you cut out sugar or sweets or whatever like that, and that's fine. It's all the power to you. You do what works for you. But for many of us who are on my channel, who are watching me, a lot of people want to find out how they can eat food yet still have the benefits of autophagy or autophagy, however you like to pronounce it. How they can enjoy their food, not really deeply uproot their life, but still get the benefits of weight loss and health and longevity. So this is why they've come here. We can even talk about this. We have to mention like this, what they call the French paradox. You go over into France, and it's like, how do all of these people eat such rich foods, butter, cheese, baguettes, pastries, and wine, and yet they have so much lower rates of obesity and heart disease than we do. I mean, they're not, and I do plan on doing a separate video about the French aspect of this. And it's not a perfect society. There's a lot of smoking that still goes on in Europe, particularly in France. Definitely not recommending that to anybody. But one of the things that they do is they take great pleasure out of having some really great food. But what they do is they kind of have a delayed gratification. They don't have it all of the time, but when they do have it, they have a small portion of it. It's enough to just kind of, tantalize the taste buds. And then when they're done with it, they're done. And for the most part, they really do eat healthy, and they have a little bit. They would, instead of having a big block or a big handful of processed, really crappy tasting cheese, they'd rather have a little tiny bit of some really rich, really amazing, powerfully packed food, or cheese, as we're using in this example. So if I'm going to talk about delayed gratification, I have to mention the Marshmallow Test. Now, this was a very famous study done by Walter Mischel in 1990, I believe it was. The general premise of the study is that they took, I believe it was hundreds of children, and one at a time, they would put them in a room, and the scientists would say, listen, we will give you one large marshmallow right now that you can enjoy, or if you wait for 15 minutes with the marshmallow sitting right in front of you here, we will give you 2 giant marshmallows. And so then the scientists, the doctors who were doing this study, would leave the room, and they would watch from an observation room, and they learned a lot about human behavior. And some of the children, obviously, they couldn't really quite wait, and they wanted to eat the marshmallow right away, and so then that was the end of the test for them. And some of the children were able to wait patiently, and they were rewarded with the second marshmallow. And so what these scientists were doing who put on the study is they followed some of these children into their adult life, and they made some really interesting observations. These children who were able to delay the gratification were linked to having higher academic achievement. They were better behaved. They got along better socially. They tended to be thinner. They tended to be people who had better health later on in life. And so, and there's plenty of books about this study. I definitely recommend you go and check them out. And but they found that even at this younger age, these children who were able to separate themselves for a little bit and put some distance between things and do whatever they had to do in their mind, excuse me, to delay this gratification, because they could focus on the long-term consequences of, or the long-term benefits of just waiting and delaying their gratification. And in this case, it was 2 marshmallows. So how do you put delayed gratification into practice? Well, it all boils down to now versus later. Studies show that people are more likely to delay gratification if they have a firm grasp on what that delaying is going to get them in the future and what is it going to buy them. Here, a good example is a cigarette smoker. If they look at later, like in other words, what is me delaying the gratification of having the cigarette? If I don't do that, what is it going to buy me? They could look later on down the road and see that they could live a cancer-free life. So in that sense, looking at projecting the projection, looking later down the road, is often how you have to be able to see what it gets you and what it can buy you. In the sense, where Buddhism is always talking about being in the present moment. If you're trying to master your mind and be in control, sometimes being in the present moment is a horrible place for you to be. You want to be in not the present moment, but you want to be in later land. You want to be in the future, because the future is what holds where you want to be. All right, so in that example, it's kind of easy to see what later will bring to the cigarette smoker by not having any cigarettes. That's a cancer-free life. So what does delayed gratification do for you? In the context of OMAD, well, I think you know that. You can definitely check out my video on on the health benefits of going on OMAD for any length of time. We know it increases autophagy. We know that it reduces inflammation. Obviously, you lose some weight. But I want you to not just focus on the weight loss aspect of it, and try and take pleasure and focus on the pleasure of having a really good experience with your food. I think, and this also is how you heal. For those out there who are watching this who may be bingers, this is where you start to heal your relationship with food. Because you really want to, there are certain foods that, or if you're going to eat food, a certain type of food forever, it would be easier for you, especially if they're a trigger for you. It's easier for you and better if you have that item when your craving for it is at an 8, 9, or 10 out of 10 versus a 2. Think about the last time you were really, really craving pizza and then you had pizza. How good did it taste? How good did it taste when your craving was like at a 2 out of 10? You probably don't even remember that experience. And to give you another example, often so many people, when they or say they're going to start a diet and it's ultra restrictive, and then they go into the office today and they go in the break room and somebody's brought in donuts, or like the last example, pizza. And if they end up just out of habit eating one of them, and then it turns into 2, and next thing you know, it's like, okay, well, screw it. I've already lost out on my diet today. I'm just going to go hog wild, and then it goes spiraling out of control there. Instead, if you said to yourself, okay, let's take a look at what my craving for these donuts really are. Is it right now, it's about a 4 or 5 out of 10? I'm going to give that up. And I'm going to have it at a later time when my craving is like a 9 out of 10, when I'm really, really wanting them. So in putting it off eating, and we then change that aspect to the eating. Instead, like that's where OMAD kind of comes in. Sorry, I'm kind of gathering my thoughts. I have a lot of things I want to make sure I cover today. Instead of eating, 5, 6 times a day, excuse me. I mean, I remember when I was doing this, when I was eating 3 meals a day and snacking in my car, nothing was really all that pleasurable. And it's hard to have really concentrate and have every one really great series of meals over and over and over again when you're constantly just bombarding your taste buds. And so what we do, and especially to save money, because when you're eating that much, it's expensive, we buy cheaper versions of this stuff, and it's loaded with processed ingredients, artificial crap that makes it taste kind of like the original, but then again, not really. And we eat it, and then we're not satisfied, but then we go out and we get more and more, trying to get the craving of the real item that we actually wanted. And instead of just getting that one thing of the one item and eating that and being fine and satisfied, we end up getting, the perfect example is cookies. When I'm really craving a chocolate chip cookie, if I make my own chocolate chip cookies, I can have, excuse me, I can have, sorry, my throat today. 2 homemade cookies, and like it's enough for me because it's rich. It's used with real ingredients. I could eat half a bag of the store-made ones because they're light, they're like air, they're tasteless, and you don't even realize it. And next thing you know, you've consumed way more and way more calories than you would have if you just had the real thing. So that's something to think about too when you're on this kind of you're on your OMAD path. When we're eating when we're actually hungry. We're not just eating out of habit or because there's a game on TV. And when you find yourselves in these situations, the other thing you could ask yourself is, if you really are intending to not splurge today and stick to your OMAD, and let's say it's been 7 hours since you ate and you're in a situation like that, out of 1 out of 10, am I actually hungry? If you ask yourself how hungry you are, I guarantee you, more than likely, you're going to be at about a 5, maybe even a 6. And that for you may not be enough for you to really end your OMAD or splurge on your plan that day. There is one caveat to this whole thing, though, I have to say, and that is when you are having a 9 or 10 craving out of 10, out of 9, 8 or 9 out of 10 craving for something, and say like it's a donut or cookies or ice cream or something like that, and you have postponed because it was in a situation where you were at before and you weren't really craving it. You need to have it when you get to around an 8 or 9 or a 10 craving, and you have to when you get that craving. If you don't get it, you end up not building up trust within your mind and in your body. And this is important because I think this is where a lot of people end up kind of cheating on a lot of their diets. They go on these really ultra restrictive dieting plans and they have to give up all of that stuff. So a craving comes up, or they're in a situation where, we're having a big pizza party and it's, I'm sorry, I'm low carb. I can't have that. And you really want it and you're having an intense craving for it. So you delay it, you postpone it. And your body said, okay, we'll let you have it this time. But when we have it again, we have this craving, you better give it to us, right? And it's like you're telling it, yes, yeah, no problem. But really all you're doing is giving it you're kind of bullshitting it, really. And then once that happens again, the craving index, it just keeps kicking up and kicking up. And then eventually what happens is people cheat on their diet, and they have to leave these ultra-restrictive diets, excuse me, and they go right back to eating the standard American, going off their plan, and having just the results that they don't want to have. So if you're going to have these cravings, you have to listen to your body, and that's why I eat what I want. I'm actually going to do another that's another video I'm planning on doing later on too, is really going into depth on why I eat what I want. I recommend getting pleasure out of your food, and if there's certain items that we don't necessarily need, like say especially with certain desserts and sweets and breads and chips and fries and things like that, have them when your craving for them your craving index for them is around an 8, 9, or 10 out of 10, and seek the highest quality of these items that you can find. Make them yourself if you can. But there is an amazing power with delayed gratification, and delayed gratification is what the foundation of OMAD is, and it's why it works, and it's why it works in other aspects of your life too. You'll find yourself, at least it has for me, I'm way more productive because I'm happier, and I get things done now. I have like this real desire to like accomplish a lot of things during my day because that's what I've been doing with OMAD, and it's gone over into my personal life as well. And yes, I am seeing the weight loss results and the health results, but I'm also getting pleasure out of my food, and I'm enjoying the process, and I don't feel like I'm dieting. I'm not stuck in this dieter's mentality prison. So that is it for me today. That is my spiel on delayed gratification, and I hope you enjoyed it. And as of course, if you feel like sending me any questions or comments, send them down below or send me an email. I hope you're having a great week, a great day, and I hope you're enjoying your OMAD today. And that's it for me. I'm signing off. I will see you very soon.